Lexus enjoyed sales growth in the United Kingdom in 2017, scoring some small victories against BMW, Mercedes and Audi. But the firm's mid-size saloon, the GS, has been looking a little bit long in the tooth. So now it's time for a fresh rival for the 5 Series, the E-Class and the Audi A6. And that's why we've come to a hot and steamy Tennessee to try the all-new ES. Now, ES may be a new name for British customers, but it's a pretty well-established badge worldwide. In fact, this is the 7th generation of the car, and it's the second best-selling Lexus of all time after the RX. The ES goes on sale in the UK in January 2019, and it's going to try and stand out from the rest of the executive sector by being hybrid-only and front-wheel drive. That's because the ES is based on the Toyota New Global Architecture, the same set of common chassis parts that also underpins the latest Prius and the CHR crossover. It's stretched for the ES though, because this car is meant to sit between the IS and the LS in Lexus's lineup. The powertrain is the latest evolution of Lexus's hybrid system. That's a 2.5-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine. Batteries are mounted underneath the rear seats so they don't impact too much on boot space. Lexus is still working on the figures for fuel economy and CO2 emissions, but they're already saying it should be around 60 to the gallon on the official cycle. That equates to less than 110 grams per kilometre, which should make the car pretty competitive on benefit in kind tax for company car choosers. The question you may be asking by this point is whether the switch to front-wheel drive means the ES is even more anodyne than the old GS. The roads of Nashville don't offer much scope to fling a car around, but our suspicion is that the ES won't be challenging the 5 Series for driver involvement anytime soon. That said, the chassis is set up for comfort, and it manages to deliver this without an excessive amount of body roll. If anything, we think that the elements holding the ES back as a driver's car are the powertrain, in particular the transmission, and the steering, which is direct and nicely weighted, but pretty short on communication. The ruling refinement on the ES is actually pretty impressive. When you're cruising along at 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, the petrol engine just fades into the background. They've done a good job on suppressing any whine off the electric motors, more so than on previous Lexuses, I would say. There's plenty of tech on board here as well. There's a nice large head-up display ahead of me, very big infotainment screen, but it is controlled via Lexus's touchpad down here. Now, it's the latest incarnation of the system, and it is getting better all the time, but I would still prefer a dial like you get on Mercedes Command or BMW's iDrive. It's also worth remembering that the infotainment system cannot be spec'd with either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. As with Toyota, Lexus doesn't offer those on any of its vehicles. The cabin is just about big enough for 4 adults, although taller grown-ups may complain about headroom in the rear seats, which is compromised by the sweeping roofline. The boot is a respectable 454 litres, although there is a fairly hefty lip to load heavy items over. The ES's predecessor, the GS, was always something of a left-field choice in the executive saloon market, and frankly, the ES is probably going to continue that trend. But that does not mean it is without appeal. It's probably not going to match the very best German competitors for driver involvement, but it is set up for comfort and refinement. There's tons of safety tech on board, and that hybrid powertrain should mean it's good on running costs. That could make it a popular choice with fleet buyers who account for so much of this area of the market.